3, it's live. So, since today is about yoga, I'm going to do a little short meditation where we all will sit in silence as we breathe in. We breathe in the intention to bring people here for our learning practice today. And as we breathe out all the intentions that doesn't serve us anymore.
I'm sorry.
I don't normally laugh at people. It's just funny the way it's like in the microphone like that.
All right. And so for today's talk, we're going to be talking about yoga,
Sorry.
the power of yoga, and how the postures can lead us to either A, the ascension, or B, we're going to get to world peace in a matter of days, to be more realistic. The only question is what is yoga? Like, seriously, I've been learning about yoga for years, but I have no idea how in the world does it. Is it just simply like the Ashtanga yoga where you do chaturanga and all those, what do you call it? The
Well,
cobra pose and, you know, you know.
well, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of yoga. So, what is yoga is like something that's hard to answer because there's so many different forms and types and ways. There's like more traditional yoga practices, and then ever since it got back to America, it kind of became Americanized. Interestingly, many traditional where traditional yoga comes from, the whole purpose of yoga, one of the main purposes of yoga, is to actually prepare our bodies to be able to sit for meditation, because the different postures and asanas that we do in yoga are preparing our body to be able to like sit for longer periods of time and be still. So we're building up these muscles so that when we do get to the meditation point, our meditation is going to be that much easier. We're going to be able to go that much further because we've already built up those muscles to be able to sit up straight and to be, our body feels loose and relaxed, and we can actually move the energy through our body. But in Western culture, since we've adopted yoga, we've like totally forgot about that part, and it's not ever mentioned or rarely mentioned even in a class. And it's something that some yoga teachers will bring it up, but so there's just kind of like there's all these benefits of it anyway, like whether or not you're doing it to be able to sit up straight for meditation, there's like 1,000 bajillion other benefits too. So I guess now we're just tuning in on all of it. It's really awesome because everyone can mold it to whatever they want, really, now in this beautiful era we're living in.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, the thing is how do you mold it in such a way that you know for sure that it will bring numerous benefits to not only yourself but for others, because anything can be called a pose, even if I do breath of fire right now, I can bring benefits, like for example to my kundalini and all those stuff, but how do you know?
You use your intuition.
I mean, like, how? Because the thing is
And
it's
you
our
learn.
body, but what about others?
I think that's why it's so awesome and important to just go try out a whole bunch of different kinds.
Yeah.
Right.
I ran across, I think it was a saying, and it was like, it's not about it's not about being able, it's not about being able to finally accomplish the stretch or the pose in yoga. It's the journey that gets you to being able to complete the stretch or the pose in yoga. And I was just like, wow, that's such an interesting perspective, because it's quite literally, once again, a process of growth, a journey, journey of self-discovery, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the things that I personally have no idea. Like, for example, when I first started yoga, I actually did what we call kundalini yoga, and The thing is here's the funny story behind how I did it. Is that, in fact, audiences, you can comment in and chime in, and this is funny. So get ready to laugh your butt out. There's one time I was actually seeing my room. It was 11 o'clock in the night, and I was sitting on my pillow. It was got to the point where, like, once I got to that deep state of meditation, I started doing rapid fire breathing. So right at the moment when I'm about to do that, I feel like my butt is like on fire and my pants are about to burn. Like, I'm not joking. It's like it's. I thought my I thought like I was smelling smoke in the house.
Sorry,
So,
I'm texting Michael. I'm telling him to get on this hangout right now.
like, I'm not joking. This is what happens. Just because I set an intention that I'm going to reach enlightenment, and Shazam, lo and behold, I just like hit the fire already, and I was a little shocked. I thought, how did this happen? So, any of you guys have any idea about how this phenomena happens? Because I don't know about you guys, but my Kundalini is like wild once it first started, you know?
Did you want to go, Bonnie, or did?
Go for it.
Um, I can only speak from my personal experience, but I think like there just have been instances for me. I remember when I was really gung ho about yoga, and I did it for like 2 months straight. I would just do it, 30-minute session every day after work. Nothing crazy. It was just this video I had, and there were just times I feel like it would just seem like, I don't know, I would get there faster, if that makes sense. Like, there were just some days I was just more connected. It's like my body would zero in, my mind would clear out, and it would just be cool runnings, I guess. And then there are days where I do the entire practice, and it's just like my mind isn't there, my body is just like it's weird. But I just know for me, there have just been times where it's like, whoa, I'm just so deep in this, took near no effort. And there are other times where it's just like, I should probably do that again because I felt like I wasted some time.
Yeah, and that's another crazy thing about it is like you can go through all the moves, and but unless you have someone really, or like you are familiar enough, or you have someone like kind of telling you like what to center in on during that exact move, you're not going to get the right stretch out of it. Like, you can make the forms without. So, when people are just like, that's why it scares me when people are first starting and they just go for like a book, and they kind of read through it and they look at a picture and they're like, oh, okay, here's my down dog. And it's like, you're missing all, like, it's good because we don't know how to do it because it's like something that just needs to be explained or walked through. We need to be walked through it almost at first,
Yeah.
That's what really got me really interesting about how, like, for example, when you do the down dog, I was like stretching my hands outwards like this, and like at first I was like, how come my arms are like hurting? But then later on, my teacher taught me the right way, where I had to like make my whole body shaped like a, what do you call it, an equilibrium triangle. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because seriously, like, I feel like it was because my shoulder right here was like overstretched. I mean, like, that's one of the biggest things that I personally saw a lot of people in yoga. They sometimes A, fail to do, or B, don't understand the philosophy behind it. And then, bam, they made a big mistake. And next thing you know, they had to pay for it.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. You make, Andy, and the piggyback on what you said earlier, Bonnie, just about the actual like whole purpose behind yoga, and how once it was brought over here, it's kind of like we just kind of shaved all of that off and kept, I guess, the core of the exercise, if you will. And then it's just it's kind of funny how I guess a lot of people may not fully benefit from it I think because they may not have, the entire idea. And it's funny because it's like you said, it's kind of one of those things where unless you're really unless you're really far off base, you can't not benefit from. You know what I mean? There's so many immediate benefits, but I feel like people would benefit so much more if there was like a yoga meditation class where you do the yoga reminded, this is all to make meditation that much easier. Than like after the class you segue into a meditation. Like I feel like that would be a little more well-rounded, and people may even more out of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? So here's the thing. How much does an average yoga class cost monthly? Because the thing is over my area, like for example, the East Side Yoga here in Austin, it costs like $130 a month. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
that's ridiculous.
There's some places like particularly Austin, like yoga, you can volunteer and like do a whole bunch of stuff and get free classes. So there's always like options to try and look into that. But it is kind of pricey, but I feel like once I learn it, like I
you
can take
know
it
it.
with me
Yeah.
anywhere, anytime. So it's kind of a valuable skill that maybe you won't always have to be paying this much money for. I don't know.
Yeah. I know, at least for me, like I've never taken any classes, but I just, I'm a video watcher. So I
I
watch something
just
so many times, and it's so funny because a lot of like the poses I necessarily won't know on their own, but I've watched the video so many times, I know the routine. You know what I mean?
I
So I'll just
know.
start at the beginning and then I'll get to it, and then I might do another yoga video and I'll be like, hey, I know that because, yeah, and it's like, but it's like you said, once you know it, you know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And then I can always go back to the yoga video after like doing it by myself a handful of times, and then I'm like, oh, I did forget this move, or I did like forget to do this certain thing, but like I gained so much more from that video now. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even hear her say that the first time. And like, I don't
Exactly.
know, I just love the whole practice. I've noticed that one thing that works really well in my life so
Hmm.
far recently is when I'm getting this like big strategy list. I call it a strategy list instead of a to-do list, but it's really just a to-do list going on, and like it's getting long and it's more like order of operations. It's like I know I need to do all these things and I want to do them all, but I don't know what order to do it in to be most effective. And then I always
Yo,
just try. At that point, I always just stop and put yoga on the top of the list.
I like that. I like
And
that.
then as I'm in the practice and after the practice, it's like everything seems to fall into place, a little easier than like when I'm like, oh my gosh, all these things are rushing around in my head and I've got to get it all done and which one do I do first? And now I took 3 hours doing item number one, But if
Yeah.
I would have just like taken that 20 minutes, I have a 20-minute yoga video I do and it makes all the difference.
No, so seriously. I know that's one thing. Like, and I fight myself with this because it's so funny. It's like, I'll do yoga and my body will quite literally be thanking me. I will feel amazing. I'll feel fantastic. And then I won't do it for like 3 weeks. And then I'll do it again. And my body will be like, you're an idiot. Why don't you do this every day? Like, it feels fantastic. It's crazy.
But that's another one of those things where we have to be gentle on ourselves because we're in that vibration in the middle of our practice, like, oh, what, and getting mad at ourselves can pull us out of it. So, like, instead, kind of holding a gentle, playful, like, haha, why didn't I do this? That was silly of me. More of a
Yeah.
playful approach to it can help the vibration.
Totally.
I don't know about you guys, but like when I learn about yoga, especially like this is from my 6 months to 1 year experience with yoga already, is that somehow in every yoga class we were all taught about sun salutation. I was like, where does that posture come from? Like
It's
seriously.
whole, it's multiple postures. I think. Does anybody else want to go? I mean, sun salutations are just really cool because it's like so many different things involved, you know. It's
Because yeah, because the thing is I know it's what we call saluting the sun. That means I bow down to the sun, which is the original source of all creation. But like, what does each posture supposed to do with our body? You know, it's like for example, I don't know what happened to you guys when you guys do it, but like every time, whenever I always do a forward bend and then I try to do another, and then from there I go straight for a back bend. It's I was like lightheaded, you know, every single time.
I mean, I do get a little bit like, but I kind of like that part.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like that, like we talked about like another time, like just being like when you're really in sync. My friend explained it to me. She was like, "It's the highest I've ever been because when you sync your breathing right, and like when you're breathing and your stretching's right, and it's just and everything's there, it's crazy euphoric. It's fantastic."
Totally.
Yeah, if I that's what really got me really interested is that instinct is one thing, but pushing yourself to the limit is another. Because somehow when I was in yoga class, I pushed myself to the limit all the time.
Yeah. I think it's
And
good as long as you don't like hurt yourself. You know, as long as you know, like, all right. I mean, for me, I laugh at myself because I'm like, I'm not gonna be the idiot friend, that one guy that everyone knows that ripped his tendon doing yoga in his apartment by him. Like, I'm not telling anyone that story. I'm not telling anyone I injured myself doing yoga by myself. Like, I'm not. That's not happening. So that's why I don't push myself. Cause
And that's why I think it's important to do like instruction guide, like guided videos, or actually attend a class than just like kind of trying to teach yourself from a book.
totally, totally.
oh, totally. In fact, if
It can help
like
eliminate injuries.
oh, in fact, I personally saw a lot of injuries, and even my yoga instructor had to admit it because there's this one time that she told me she actually almost sprained her own knee and the ligaments behind, and somehow it was numb for 6 months, and I was like, oh my god, I
Yeah.
couldn't bear this. I mean, like seriously, if yoga is not about pushing yourself to the limit, and it's all about just like
Excuse me.
synchronizing yourself, then seriously, what are you trying to achieve in yoga, you know? Everything is already in sync.
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's so easy to fall out of sync, if that makes sense. You know, especially just with the day-to-day everything. You know what I mean? Like, how there are times like when you do the yoga and you get right in the zone and you're right there and your breathing's right and everything is just there, and then there are times when you do yoga and it's like you're not even there. I feel like you can use the yoga to pull yourself back, I guess, into alignment, if you will, I guess.
Yeah, especially like when it comes to alignment, is that there's so many things that I personally did that I don't know if I even should call it alignment, but like for example, like me, if I were to do a sun salutation, before I do that every morning, I had to like first sun gaze for at least 30 minutes because like that's just how my body is after doing it for a total of 8 months already, you know.
Golly.
And in fact, this is one of the reasons why my skin is all tanned up is because I spend my time out in the sun. I
Yeah.
usually went shirtless afterwards, and bam,
So
hey
you
Michael.
said you've been Michael, what's going on? Namaste. So you said you've been sun gazing for 8 months?
Yeah, 8 months at 33 minutes to be more exact, because I started out at 10 seconds and then I increased
Yeah.
to now like 33.
Wow. So can I ask? No, go ahead, Bonnie.
You ask first, and then I'll ask.
Okay. So what is your eating like, Andy? Because I ran across like sun gazing from a friend of mine, and we'd only usually catch the sunset, and then we'd start doing the mornings and the evenings. But I've never really stuck with it long enough to see like a change in, I guess, my eating habits, if you will.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing, guys. To talk about my experience is that when I did my sun gazing practice, this is from both my yoga and sun gazing, and the thing is when I first sun
Gangsters,
gaze,
what's up, guys?
hey,
Yo,
yeah,
what's
when I,
up?
hey, so guys, when I
What's going
first did
on,
my,
man?
so when I first did my sun gazing, I literally just ate. I went from 3 times of eating to like only 2 or 1.
Yeah.
And there are times I slept only 5 hours, and like I bike like only. There's moments where I bike for 6 to 7 miles, and yet I'm still not tired out. You know, it's like my key has gone up.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I said, I'm
and
gonna
what's
have
even
to. No, go
yeah,
ahead, Andy.
you guys didn't notice it, but like when I try practicing this pose, in fact, I actually showed Michael this pose. It's called the Tibetan Rites of Immortality. It's a yoga that was taught in Tibet, where if you do this, you can actually got to the point where you can stop aging, you know, completely. And the funny thing is just because of how I did it, and in fact, I did it 33 times for all the postures, a total of 5 postures for that yoga pose, and just only a month, I came back and I was like, wow, I can bike 6 to 7 more miles, and yet I didn't even get tired out. Even I went to an RPM class.
Yeah.
Many people just after that class and when they're going like 20 or 30 miles per hour, all of them went cramped out. They don't they can't catch their breath. Me, I'm still breathing and still laughing at my instructor saying, "Is that all you got?"
Oh wow. Hey, I don't know if anyone else is like this. I can't see you, Andy.
Oh, can you see me now?
No.
I don't
I okay. Now I can see you. Now I can see you. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I
know. I
didn't know if that
guess.
was like anyone else. So it's just
Well,
like.
I guess that's the lighting because the thing is I personally I've been
I'm just
doing
observing
this
all
for
this in.
yeah since
I'm
I
just, I'm really happy, man. I'm
Yeah.
really happy everyone here that's in the chat room is in this. This is everybody who I wish to be here.
Heck yeah.
Everybody else, I'm sorry.
Oh.
They can all get off the boat. I'm sorry. Right here is all I want, all I need.
You
I
know,
most where. Okay. I just. Oh no, that was my phone. I most definitely wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Or we can just get more boats and tie them to this boat, then we can have a train of boats.
That's
True.
a train of boats idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. It's just we're not talking out of our asses about alchemy. You
yeah. In
know.
fact, yeah, I forgot about that because seriously, like,
And he's
I,
like, oh, let me go and talk about that then.
yeah, I know. It's like, all right, like seriously, last time Skull talked about social alchemy, but then the thing is, we forgot about our body alchemy. You know, like seriously, how in the
I like to
world?
move it, move it.
Yeah, I know. We all like to move it, move it. But we need to know how to move it, or else our bodies is like.
Yoga, that's pretty much what yoga is. It's just knowing how to move your body in order to benefit you the most.
Wait, wasn't that from Madagascar?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I don't think.
All
Somewhat.
right, time out.
Oh.
I'm gonna be right back, guys. I made blueberry muffins. I'm gonna go eat one. Give me 1 second.
Oh, we'll bring that.
Oh my god. Just one of those days. Yeah, so like going back to the part about social alchemy and what do you call it? The body alchemy is that we I know that for sure that we all learned from alchemy that we're fire, water, earth, and air. But then the thing is like for example, Tai Chi. I learned Tai Chi from my friend Michael, or yoga from some of my yoga instructors. But how does that manipulate some parts of our alchemy? You know, like for example, when I first do yoga, I don't know about you, Bonnie, but when Michael like literally try to touch my hands, it feels like fire.
When you're
Finally.
or wait, I'm confused.
Like, how does yoga or Tai Chi manipulate the alchemy inside of our bodies in such a way that allow us to, for example, be immortal or
Oh,
be enlightened at this very body or at this very moment?
How does it do that?
There's many
Yeah,
forms
like
of
how does it?
alchemy.
I'm talking about like the Chinese alchemy or any alchemy system that you guys name about in this world.
No, it's all the same alchemy. I
I
mean,
know.
but I mean, what I was saying is the reason why I was laughing when they had that discussion and I just couldn't take that shit seriously is just because they didn't mention Qigong or Tai Chi or any of this and trying to make it sound so mystical. And I'm just like, I mean, all you really do is practice Qigong or Tai Chi, and you're doing some form of internal alchemy right there. You don't have to.
Actually, I forgot to mention this when I was talking when you asked what yoga is. It's actually yoga itself is like 8 different pieces. There's like the asanas, which is what we consider yoga, the moves, the postures, and then there's meditation, the gunas, several other 8 things total involved, and basically that's where it all came from. So this is really just so yoga. The original term I think encompasses like 8 different pieces that are supposed to like lead to this balanced life. So to bring it back to the question you're asking now, how does it affect our body? I think it is just because technically what we call yoga is actually just the asanas portion of yoga. So
In the West.
yeah, so it's like
So, so can you explain to us like what is the
Wait, I have an
asana?
idea.
it's. Go ahead, Michael.
The body is the unconscious mind, the way I see it.
Like seriously, what is the asana? Seriously, because the thing is we can personally learn how to do all sorts of yoga poses, but they're not always part of the asana,
Well,
you know.
From what I heard, like basically before yoga was brought to the West by I believe Yogi Bhajan and this other guy, I forgot his name. He's a Swami. I know for that. But
when talking about yoga and swamis, that totally helps narrow it down.
No, seriously, that is a good thing you did because
Just kidding.
you guys don't talk about what it originally
there's so
is.
many Swamis, man. There's so many Swamis, man. But basically, like before it was brought to the West, yoga wasn't so much about the postures. It was more so the connection. The postures, the asanas were designed to like build the body for the kundalini. Like the first time that I actually tried yoga, I thought I was raising the kundalini, and actually I was just in a class with a bunch of middle-aged women.
Yeah, you missed the beginning of this conversation. We were talking about the purpose. But the asanas can be basically any yoga pose. It's just simply the pose itself. The yoga poses are the asanas. But technically, when yoga was first brought over here, it was like, or traditionally yoga is 8 different pieces. Pranayama is the breathing, the asanas is the postures, the niyamas is prospects, observances, and fixed rules. Yama is the self-control, restraint.
Are you reading off Wikipedia?
Yes, I'm definitely reading off of. Oh, did you say that? I'm sorry, I pulled up a thing because I couldn't remember the 8 pieces. And yeah, meditation's one of them. Contemplation and concentration. Anyway, so we basically.
I just wondered if it was Wikipedia.
Oh no, it's not Wikipedia.
Okay, thank you.
Well, in fact, it's okay if it's not Wikipedia because the thing is when it comes to yoga, we know that yoga the term, it's actually more than just simply postures. Of course, there's many different systems, and it comes from many different countries. But for example, like in China, we also have a yoga system in there. We call that Tai Chi. And in several countries, Asian countries, we call that martial arts. But in India, we call that yoga. And in the West, we also have something like that, which we call it alchemy. But like, the question is like, how does it raise the Kundalini? Because everyone knows what it is, but how does it do it?
That's the Kabbalists. The Kabbalists call it the what you said in the West. That's what the Kabbalists and the Gnostics.
Okay, so to Andy's question, how does it do it? It syncs up our breath with these movements of our body that basically just create harmony in our body, you know. I feel like
From what I've put together so far, or what it seems like, I guess, with all of these things, is it seems like it's just kind of a preparatory movement system of energy throughout the body. You know, so it's like, I guess there's always like a free flow of energy, as opposed to, I guess, energy getting stuck somewhere and then growing stagnant, and then Lord knows whatever could happen to stagnant energy that just sits in one of the, chakras or something. But I guess, it's just...
somehow
You said what?
it creates pain and manifests somehow through that blockage.
Totally. So I think it's just, I'm just assuming all of them are just to keep that energy that moving throughout the body. So it's always, moving.
Can I just say one of my favorite parts about yoga real quick?
Huh.
A little bit off topic, but I love when you're in like this funny pose and like all of a sudden you can see under your bed, or like you can see like all these perspectives of things that are everyday normal to you.
Oh, I love that.
But it looks like enchanted and crazy, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know that the bottom of my bookshelf looked that way, or like, no, I've never.
No, I love that.
It's like we're so used
I know
to
exactly what you're talking about.
seeing our house in this certain way, because we see it like that way all the time, and so to like take this period of time where you're like seeing it this other way, like upside down or however, I think that's so fun.
Like, I was gonna say, like, this may just be another one of those things to add to the list of maybe not from this world, but I used to like hang at the top of my bed when it had its spring and just like with my head upside down and just look up and just visualize the world like if I was walking on the ceiling and like certain things. It was just the coolest. Like, it reminds me exactly like what Bonnie was talking about.
It's so fun. Do you guys have any other favorite parts of yoga to share today with the class?
I'm talking now. Here's like one of my most favorite postures that I personally incorporate into my sun salutations all the time. Is that when I had to do a half moon pose. Like, does anyone, even the audience, who in here knows what a half moon pose looks like? Because I'm not joking. That posture is ridiculous.
I think it's fun.
I know. Like, first
like
you do. Yeah. First you. Yeah. First you have to do Warrior 2. It's like let me stand out real quick. All right. First it's like this.
Wait, I can't see one.
You see it? All right. So I'm gonna have to lay my laptop down real quick.
Oh, okay.
All right. This is my. Oh God. Great. All right.
Come on.
All right. So here's me doing my Warrior 2, and for half moon pose, it's like you're trying to balance yourself right here, and you're lifting your leg up. Do you see what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You showed me that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually
Watch out,
showed,
man. Don't hit Jesus.
Hey, in fact, I actually did it like this morning, and I actually have a chance to show it to Michael. But then I don't know how you guys think about that pose. It's like I heard that it brought like a lot of energy to you when you first knew them.
I would, I'd have to say, downward dog and birth pose. I always fall asleep in birth pose. It's so comfortable. I have no idea why. And
Like what does it look like? Child's pose, or is different than child's pose?
No, I was actually about to say child's pose, but no, I think birth pose is when like you're laying and you bring like the soles of your feet together and you let like your knees fall out to the ground.
Oh yeah, I love that one. I do that.
Yeah, it's super relaxing.
Oh yeah, that one's really good. And then you can get a strap and put it around your feet and like that part.
No, what is that?
You just I'm looking for Google images. It must be probably a different pose, but you're doing the same thing that you're talking about, the birth pose, and then you just put a strap around your ankles and you lay down and you're holding the strap, so you're kind of like holding your feet up.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Like,
yeah.
Here's another pose that I personally have no idea if you guys ever done this in yoga, but like it's ridiculously hard. I tried the standing split and the warrior 3, and it's like, oh my god, my back leg is hurting real bad. Even right now, if you come to my house, I'll be telling you, man, I can barely walk normally right now with this with those two poses.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
I like child pose.
You like what?
I like child pose.
Yeah, child pose is awesome.
I know.
Every day, like even like when I'm in the middle of doing a bunch of things and stuff, and I'll just stop and lay on my floor, and that's like the only thing I'll do in 10 minutes. Like I'm just turn everything else off. Like if there's one thing I do that day, I mean, I don't do it every day. At least every 2 days. Like my body starts to. That's the interesting part about your body. Like since I started practicing more regularly, like really craves it. Like when I don't do it, I start feeling achy when I don't.
Horrible, absolutely horrible.
Like,
and it's weird, different pieces of my body that I didn't even know existed. Like those hip opener ones and stuff. And
right? Yeah.
Like I'll try to stretch it, and I'm like, I can't. I have to turn on my hip openers. Yacht Rodney video. I can't do. Or I have to just do the pose.
Wow.
I really love that Rodney video, by the way, guys. 20-minute morning workouts. Amazing.
Yeah.
I did it right now. It wasn't the morning.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. I'm going to go get some chia water, guys. I'll be right back.
Chia waters? Oh, it's okay.
Water.
Hey, in fact, I personally love those stuff, I would get a pack of chia waters before I go do any yoga poses, especially out in the hot sunny day.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
But I mean, like seriously, here's something that it's so strange, It's like everybody, in every ancient tradition, we always talk about how the sun plays a major role in every practice, major practices that you name of, like yoga, tai chi, and everything. But like seriously, for what reason are these ancients taught originally to do it during a sunny day? Like out in the hot sun. I don't know about you guys, but like I don't see Ashtanga yoga do that. Or rarely. Not many studios would get their students outside. Like, for what reason did we eliminate that in our studios?
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with taking your shirt off and do it, because that's part of what many yogis back in the old days they do. They take off their shirts.
What's wrong with taking off your shirt?
Michael never wears a shirt. I don't think
I mean, like, going shirtless is nothing new. In fact, I went shirtless several days.
I'm shirtless right now.
You're shirtless right now? Wow. How shirtless are you right now?
Man, I'm not wearing any bracelets, so pretty
Oh
sure.
wow! Like seriously, guys. Like, do you guys have any idea how come like Ashtanga yoga is like taking out that most important element of like yoga back in the old days?
Probably
Because I think
because
it's more business related.
I was just about to say that. Probably because people don't want to pay to be outside. They want to pay to go into the serene environment. Environment's important, and you can create a beautiful environment inside with a lot less distractions. I think that eliminating distractions, like external distractions, like one thing I was thinking when I was teaching meditation classes outside was construction
Awesome.
work would be going on, like in the park or whatever, like things like that can
Chia
really like
water.
throw you off.
Hmm.
What I miss, guys.
What did you do to make that
What's
chia
going
water?
on?
You put it chia seeds in the water, or
That's pretty much it. I cut up some lemons. I put chia seeds in the water, and I just refrigerated it all in a pitcher overnight.
and then so you don't drink the chia seeds. The chia seeds all like drop to the bottom, or do you actually drink?
Oh yeah, I stir up the pitcher before I pour it into like my water bottle or my cup, so I can get a good mix of everything. And yeah,
That, but I use them for several like smoothies, and yeah, it's
yeah,
really
I
unique.
Well, that wasn't anything unusual. Do you know that chia seeds, like, here's the overall history of that seed when I read in this one article from Science, is that they said that chia seeds was originally from North America and the Americas, where, like, the Native Americans, they would eat that before they go to battle.
hmm.
That's like a war zone
Isn't
type
that the
plant.
Aztecs?
Yep, the Aztecs. And in fact, that's how they retain a lot of energy because you get a lot of energy from it. And same thing when you start using it with yoga, it's like you're eating a pack of meat, a bulk load of meat that's like $10 for every pound.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
I
don't
mean,
think
just
meat really has that. No, go ahead, bro.
no. It was really short. I was just gonna say, yeah, they're quite literally, they're just amazing. Like they absorb like 10 times their weight in water. Like they're really, really good for you. They're awesome for hydration. Yeah, and I don't know. Now it's just like I'm like I like them because I don't know. They get weird and like jelly and like I don't know. I just dig
Oh
them
yeah.
now.
No, I know what you're
Then
talking
you
about.
do this amazing dessert I make with chia seeds in it.
You said what?
I want to send you the recipe to this amazing dessert I make with chia seeds and coconut milk and blueberries.
Yes. I
Like,
have
it's so good.
oh, I have everything but the coconut milk. I would make it right now.
Oh,
You
but
know,
there's
Sherman, if I were you, I would race
It's
against me because
awesome. Do it.
I'll get to Bonnie's house and I would ask for it because I live.
Listen,
I have all the stuff for it right now. I'm already like, no, but it's
Oh,
not
wow.
like you don't blend the blueberries in. You blend the chia seeds and the coconut milk, and and, and then you fold in the blueberries and cinnamon. Oh, lots of cinnamon.
nice,
Gee, wow.
nice.
And you can
Yeah,
add
I
sugar
most,
Cinnamon.
instead of sugar because I don't eat sugar.
yeah, I most definitely need to get into that. Like, I most definitely need to, and it's such an easy switch. I most definitely need to like get off of like milk, and just like officially switch over to like
Milk.
almond milk or rice milk or like I don't know,
Yeah, I
like
got you.
yeah, like
Sherman, I don't know about you because since you did mention about milk, why not try soy milk? Because you find that plenty over in the Asian markets.
oh yeah, totally. I just need to like that's my whole thing. Like I just need to switch over. It's just a habit, you know. Like when I'm shopping, I'm like, oh, I need milk, so I go get like a thing of like 2% milk because I just and I get home and I'm
Yeah,
like,
no.
oh, all of my recipes are calling for almond milk or
Okay,
something.
so to bring this into the yoga conversation, do you
We
guys
get off topic. I don't know.
Well,
Just
it's
go with
okay.
it.
In fact,
I
this
think
is
it's
this
okay
is
to be
also part of your health, because if you guys don't talk about nutrients, then yoga poses are just meaningless, you know, because that's part of what you do. Is like, for example, when I first read about this book, it's called The Foundation of Youth. This is from a guy that went to the Himalayas and studied from the yogis. And what he found out is that your diet does play a role on how fast your development after you do a yoga pose, how it will affect you later on. So knowing this is very important. You guys brought up a good point, you know.
What were you saying, Bonnie?
There's also a book called The Yoga of Eating.
Oh, that's
Okay.
yeah. Like, whoever wants to
Food.
comment on that type of book, just like write on the comment box, and Bonnie share that with the audience down there.
I haven't read the book. I've just been recommended to read it several thousand times and haven't actually read. Oh no, it's The Yoga of Food.
Okay. Okay.
Yoga of Food. It's supposed to be really good.
Speaking of food,
Oh no. It was The Yoga of Eating by Charles Eisenstein. The Yoga of Eating. Yeah, Charles Eisenstein. He's amazing. Yeah, I need to read that book. I have a weird diet though. I'm gluten free. I think that helps my yoga practice.
Yeah, like here's the thing that who in here knows Acharya Sri? Like, he's actually a yogi over here in Texas, but he's in Dallas
no,
because like
no
he's
Deepak Chopra.
well, this guy he's like an actual mystic that is living in our modern world today, and the thing is he's a Jain. He said that the one thing that part of yoga is that you must retain like a non-violent thought, and B, you had to be a vegetarian in such a way that will develop that good sense of karma and body that allows you to do yoga at a more effective rate, you know. And I was like, how to what extent is this true that you have to be vegetarian to do this posture or this pose?
I think it just depends on the individual.
Like, for example, me, I know that some people, they have to eat meat, of course, but what about, like, vegetarians? How in the world does
But
that...
they don't have to. It's a choice.
Right, but, like,
Hmm.
what... I mean, like, when... I mean, like, when do you have to... when do you... What type of benefit do you get from being a vegetarian, you know? In
Well,
terms of
I mean,
improving your body.
in terms of like in terms of how it affects like the yoga.
I mean, like your body that allows you to do yoga. Because without your body, you won't be able to do yoga.
Right.
Right.
But uh, okay. I think I understand the question, Andy. I'm a little
I'm
confused. I want to make sure I have it right.
I think what he's saying is like, how does it affect your overall well-being and
yes,
like your
exactly.
molecules
There
and
you go.
everything?
Yes, there you go. And like because your
What
well-being
benefit
does
does it have being a vegetarian versus not being a vegetarian? There's something like
yeah,
that.
exactly. In fact, this is what I found. A lot of yoga studios, I've seen some yoga teachers, they do yoga postures, but the way how they but like I keep hearing them getting sick. And turns out it's A because how they eat, B is what happened during the
Hmm.
day. I mean like it should happen, you know?
I
Well,
mean,
we gotta look into context of. No, go ahead, bro.
no. Go ahead.
No, you're the man, Sherman. Go ahead, bro.
It's in my name. Okay. I think. I mean, I don't know. Just for the simple, from the vegetarian or from a vegetarian perspective, I can only kind of half speak here because I do eat seafood. But
I
I
eat
just
seafood.
think, yeah, I do think it's. I don't know. I mean, it could also kind of be seen as, if you will, like a whole all-around cleansing process, if you will. And I guess from the example that you had given a second ago, Andy, with person who would, I guess, set those guidelines or was saying, to get the most out of it, you need to do this and be this. It would also, I guess, in that area, help with that mindset of, you were talking about, like, I guess, what, building that karma? I think you were saying something to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
effect.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like releasing karma.
I think that would help with doing yoga with that mindset, eating in that fashion would all help that, because I mean that's kind of for me, I look at that and I just kind of see all around compassion, that mindfulness of compassion all the time, compassion for yourself, compassion for what you are eating, compassion for what you're not eating, to just fully, I guess, benefit you. But like I said, I can't really speak to that because I can only, I eat fish.
You
So
are
I
a
don't.
vegetarian, bro. I mean, you
I mean,
just eat fish and what, eggs, right?
yeah, and and dairy, but yeah, and dairy.
Yeah.
Vegetarian or something.
I
Huh?
mean, they're pescatarian, but it's still, I feel it's still a veg. It's not like a pseudo vegetarian. It's still a vegetarian, but it's they just eat fish, so it's a
Right, right.
pescatarian. I don't know. Does that sound funny?
No, I
Yeah,
mean, I was gonna say it makes total sense to me. I mean, I'm a pescatarian, so
well, same here.
Pescatarian. But I mean, the only reason I do it really is for protein. I mean, that's really the only reason. And tilapia is pretty good
Well, the fish oil is
sometimes.
really, really good for you. Fish can be really good.
true, true.
We need all these
It's
things.
really good for your brain. I mean, there's things, man, that I encountered along my journey that, like, basically, my teacher, he learned from his teacher. My teacher's teacher learned from basically when he was younger. He was taught by Parahamsa
Yogananda?
Yogananda,
Uh-huh.
and
I said,
basically my teacher asked him one time, and he said, well, basically, he told my teacher that you need to eat some meat because you're kind of ungrounded. And my teacher looked at him and he said, "Well, I've been like a vegetarian for like 20 years now, right?" He said, "You need to eat some meat because basically he felt that he was not grounded. So it just, it really just depends. I mean, honestly, wanna do you want to be just eating spirulina all the time if it makes you shit like every time you and it's just, it depends. Now I do like spirulina. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying you have to listen to your body because certain foods will agree with it more. You have to see, like, I have like a really sensitive digestive system, so I don't know. I think it just depends on the individual.
I'm so glad that you brought up that point because, um, yeah, I mean, I have a little story. I wonder if I should be wearing headphones. Would that be easier? Anyway,
Oh.
yeah, for me, like, I went vegetarian for 3 months, almost 4 months, and I was super, super, like, I don't want to say this to scare people away, um, because it's exactly what Michael's saying. It's like different for every single person on this earth. But I didn't know I had a gluten intolerance, and so basically I quit eating meat and I started eating a lot of gluten, like wheat, whole wheat things, and basically was replacing all that with gluten type products, and I got really sick and I started having a whole bunch of skin irritations that were really severe, and I had to go to the doctor, and it was like this huge ordeal, and we figured out it was a
Gee.
gluten intolerance. And so then I went to just a diet where I do eat meat, but it's only meat from the farmer's market that's been like grass fed, like happy animals that are treated well, and so I think that that's
Yeah.
really important for me. But like to be,
I think that's really all it is.
yeah, to be gluten intolerant, and I also I don't eat refined sugar, so like just yeah, it's hard for me not to eat meat because you know it's like when you don't eat sugar and you don't eat gluten,
Yeah.
and I try not to eat carbs too altogether. So
Oh, if since
Well, I
buying
only eat
you,
carbs for energy.
I don't know
That's,
about you
you
guys, but
know.
like I also have this funny story once. Is that when I was a child? This is when I was in second grade. I was
You're not a child anymore?
that was like this is like let me see. This is like 12 years ago. Is that when I was uh I actually had this allergy with milk. I was lactose intolerant. So there's this one time where I just accidentally drink milk with orange juice. I don't know about you guys, but like
Ooh.
I was having a bad stomach ache that night, but then I was so lucky that I was strong enough to hold it, so therefore like my diarrhea didn't go like full blown. But I
Oh.
but the next day, like when I walk into class, I just like I dropped a bomb in class, and everyone just ran out screaming, saying, "Oh my God, my it smells
Oh.
so bad."
Oh,
Oh,
Andy. No,
like
bro. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all.
well, that was the funniest moment because the thing is I didn't even know what I was eating because I was dumb enough to do it because I think I need more calcium. Then bam, I just blew it.
while we're talking about food, and yoga and intention,
And
do you guys ever put it
defecations.
into your food? Like,
Huh?
you eat it? Do you ever put intention into your food before you eat it?
I
I do
actually
now.
ran across it was actually really funny, the Celestine prophecy. I ran across their whole theory of prayer, apparently, and what it actually was meant to do was to allow the energy from the food, like for our bodies to be receptive of the energy that we're about to take in from the food, hence the whole prayer connection with the food. And I was just like, oh, that's really interesting. I'd never thought of that, outside of, because, prayer for me had only really been presented in one way, which was just being thankful for your food, but quite literally allowing
Yeah.
and setting the body up to be receptive of what the food is about to give you, and also being thankful for that as well.
Well,
Yeah.
similarly, in my case, I used to be that I used to have that notion about prayers that it's just saying like the words itself and that's it. It wasn't until I became a Buddhist like 4 years ago that's when I actually start knowing what's the power of prayer looks like because the thing is I personally didn't even want I just thought, oh, I'm gonna just say this prayer and mouth the words out of it and then bam. But then I found out that it doesn't work like
No,
that
you have
because
to
a lot
feel
of
it.
I know that's the
That's what I
reason.
did.
Like, there's this one scientific research that uh, spirit science brought up where if you like, for example, if you were to this scientist, he sets an intention, for example, to this water as a bad intention where he cursed that
Oh, you're
water.
talking about the water studies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like everybody
Yeah.
knows that study, and think about it. It literally, the water that you ignore, it also rots just as bad as the one that is cursed. It wasn't until I found out about this that I began to be more mindful about prayers because the thing is
Right.
because sometimes we just mouth the words of what we thank for. Like
Yeah, I mean,
like
like when you're regurgitating, like if you're regurgitating something, that's how you know you're not feeling it with the heart.
well exactly. In fact, here's the funny thing is, who in here knows the Our Father prayer that many Christians today recite?
I do.
Like that was one of my biggest prayer that I personally have a pet peeves with because the thing is I don't know what it means.
I mean, you can break it down metaphysically, and then you have a deeper understanding. Like I don't know, I played so many times with that prayer, and I like made it into my own and change the names, but it's all basically the same shit, as above, so below.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, here's the funny thing is
There's
that
much stronger prayers, you know, that you can create that don't have to coincide with one particular box of thinking. I think that's what
like
I'll call it now.
yeah, like I wonder well, what do you guys think about having yoga in public school settings? Because the thing is I read on the news where so many children today, like, if you were to teach yoga in a public school settings, you A might get fired, or B you might be in jail for violating somebody's religious views, when in reality yoga has nothing to do with religion.
Well, I don't know if you could say that. I mean, it can have a lot to do with religion, like traditionally speaking. But
Oh, you
in
mean
America today, it might not have a connection to
over
religion.
in
Or
India?
yeah,
I mean, like yoga,
Mm.
because the thing is there's nothing wrong with it in by nature. It's actually a secular form of practice. It just adopts its religious nature when, like, later on in Indian history. But that's it. But it's a science that we should be teaching our kids about, or our children.
East Indian, I think.
Yeah, like for
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know about you guys, but like I don't know for what reason does Arizona or New Mexico, they literally banned that practice as some form of satanic worship, you know?
what?
yeah, I think it's nuts. I think that kids would be totally healed of a lot of disorders. A lot of things they call disorders or whatever, and things that they put medication, kids on medication for, could all be solved from like, yeah, yoga. I really do think that.
I don't know. I mean, at the point that I'm at in my study, like, I mean, I don't know, a couple of years, I don't know, probably a few years ago, I would think otherwise, but I don't even know what the hell satanic is anymore. I really don't know what they're accomplishing.
Yeah,
just
Sure,
like
another, just another word.
I'm curious if you tried to do that with your food at all, like we were talking about earlier, like and if you had any any feelings towards it, or what that experience was like with you.
I have, it's just to become,
I'm I
to
think
become
I think it's
mindful. No, I'm saying, like, I have body. It's just like to be mindful for me is just like, I don't know. It's like I can sit and I can meditate and I can do certain things, but with food, like, I'm usually on the computer. I'm usually like something is stimulating me in like one form or another, like while I eat. I know how it can be a meditation, and I know it's just, I don't know.
yeah,
Does that make
like
sense?
hmm
yeah, like here's the thing, like here's what's really interesting that happens to me today when Michael was actually out in the park and trying to find me is that I was like, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and you, Michael, you were sleeping, and I was right outside the park. Like, I was right outside the park doing my yoga videos for some of the children who are at risk. And somehow, a group of church members came over and asked me, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing yoga. Like, what's going on?" And they say, "You got to be kidding me, because did you teach all this? Like, you know those postures so well." And I was like, it's repetitive, you know? So I just learned whatever I learned from my teachers. Then the next thing you know,
Hmm.
they pulled me into like this, their relay race as a way of like, and they even tell the other church members that, hey, you should get this guy in because he's like an athlete right here. And I was like, oh God. I mean, what's so special about
I
it, you
would I
know?
would love, I don't know, man. I do hear what you're saying, and I would love to like believe that that's what they wanted, but I don't know. Just the way that I felt when I heard that, I don't know. The feeling is different than like what you said, and I know exactly what you wanted to accomplish. But my feeling is that like they wanted you to stop what you were doing.
How is that so?
And I know you're good at you're good at those postures, man. I don't know.
I think we lost Sherman.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Couldn't tell if he was frozen and gone.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening.
since you've
I
begun.
I've been working on this whole I'm working on this whole kick to whereas, and I saw it the other day on Facebook, and it was like uh, we do not listen to understand. We listen to respond, and it's something I've really been trying to work on because I feel like there a lot can be said there. You know, so many of us are just not even really. We're just waiting for someone else to finish so we can say something. Whereas really taking in what's being said, processing it, you know what I mean, and not just
You're
dismissing
right,
it so
man.
we don't forget our thought, so we can, you know. I'm just trying to work on becoming a better listener, if you will.
Same
Dude,
here,
yeah.
man. Same here, man.
So people interrupt each other every 13 seconds and turn the conversation back to them on average. So if you're with a group of people, like the number is 13. Like every 13 seconds, so on average, people will turn the conversation back to their story. It's actually become a big pet peeve of mine since I got into it a couple of years ago. Part of my degree was communications, so we learned about a lot about that. I feel like now I try and do it a lot, but then sometimes I'm like, okay, actually I do want to talk. And then I have to like catch myself, and be like, okay, wait a second, we need to be the listener.
It's funny,
And
man,
I
because
actually love
no,
being
go
a
ahead.
listener now, that's what I learned. It's great. So good job, Sherman. Way to go. I salute you.
Thanks.
Same here. Like, I feel that's something that I've been. I don't think I was aware of it as I was like, I don't know, say months ago or so, but it's something that I've definitely like learned. I mean, do you ever have that, say, when it's talking, and then like you just have this, you just have, it's just like you're listening, but then you have this thought, and then you're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna say this here, or what am, or sometimes you daydream or something. It just, I don't know.
No, like I know personally, and it happens to me a lot when I'm talking to like you guys or we're doing like our after party chats, and it sucks because like I know a lot of the time for me, like I don't want to interrupt to necessarily cut you off or necessarily even really bring the story back to me, but just to like what you said made me think of something that totally correlates that I want to
Yeah.
get out. You know what I mean? And it happens to whereas, and you try and then, somebody cuts you off and then you're cutting someone else off, and it's all because you like I hate it with all of us because we all are in a similar circle, so it's like, we all have different things that are going to resonate differently with each one of us, which are going to, cause synchronicity and, are going to make somebody else think about something they ran across that they want to share that correlates to what you're talking about. And yeah, it's crazy.
I feel like it is all about finding the balance because I totally love everything that you say all the time, Sherman. And so, definitely keep talking as well as listening because it's always really great things. Like just now, like I noticed that you weren't talking, and I was like, I need to ask Sherman a question and bring him back to the conversation.
Yeah, no, totally. Like I said, like I personally, I love the fact, Andy, you're great at this. Like I love the simple fact, like you'll talk, and you can just like get, I don't know, a conversation like up and running. For me, that's where I have a lot of difficulty. I love to talk, but like if I don't know, if I can't like just bring conversations to life, whereas like Andy, you do it with like every web chat, and it's great. You just get it going, and it's so funny because it's like you just have to start it, and then it like takes off on its own. It's so cool, man.
I was just about to say, in the conversation, like, we might not actually answer the question Andy had, but, like, we end up having some other awesome conversations.
Well, think about it, guys. In fact, here's the thing that I want to tell you about how yoga, like, you guys brought up very awesome points. And in fact, here's the thing. When I first learned yoga, and when I was originally am an introvert, to be like to be very factual with all you is that I am an introvert by nature when I was a child. But somehow
Yay.
whenever I was a but somehow whenever I start going out into the workforce,
Excuse
I
me.
found out that my personality chart starts changing, you know, it's like a lot of stress coming out, you know? That's part of what no work is. But somehow whenever I go back to yoga, I stop going to work and I spend my time alone. That's when that introverted behavior comes back for me again, and I found out that I was more in sync with the universe, you know? And there's nothing wrong with like starting a conversation or not. It's just a matter of like how do you let the universe respond to you, or how do you respond to it?
Yeah, that's perfect example, Andy. You're a great conversational topic starter.
Well, trust me,
I
in
like
fact, when
I that man like
So, yoga is kind of like listening, you know? It's
it
kind of
is.
like the time to listen to our bodies, to the universe, to, like, silence, you know, just listening to how to heal ourselves,
you guys ever watch Silent Library?
you know?
What's it called?
Silent Library? It's like this show where like they participate in all these games, but they cannot talk. And if they talk or laugh, then they have to go through like a horrible punishment. Sometimes horrible.
I've never seen it.
Like here's
It
the
just like that's just maybe it reminded me of is like Silent Library. Of course, nobody needs to be punished.
you know like I don't know about you guys, but like here's the thing that recently happened to me, even when I was doing yoga, is that when I was this is like when I was in junior high school, is that I was actually diagnosed with Asperger and ADHD, and that the thing is they sense like my egotistical behaviors and everything. But then whenever I practiced yoga, they thought, okay, Andy improved. But then later on, even like whenever I came back to a psychologist to be evaluated by someone else, which is my turns out to be my mom's attorney, referred to him. Somehow I was thrown back to Asperger. And next thing you know, they refer me to this organization called Spectrum Recreation Service here in Austin. I was like, how in the world did I revert back to there when I was practicing yoga for years already? In fact, that mental health the diagnosis shouldn't exist in the first place. You know, like ADHD.
Yeah, I've got a few qualms about a few of our, I guess, quote unquote, as psychological and mental disorders. I just from what I've seen, I mean, wasn't it? I know for me on my Facebook, like it was all over. But didn't the actual guy that like came up with ADD and ADHD, like on his deathbed, say it's fake, and yet we're still like running completely gung ho with it, like. We quite literally were working off a fictitious disease. Like what?
It's just
Oh
for the
wow.
pharmaceutical companies. They get too much money off of putting kids on drugs for all of
Yeah.
these. mental health problems, and they're not going to stop now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just think I think it's really crazy. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's actually my boss. I was talking to my boss, and he's from China, and we were just talking about like traditional Chinese medicine, and I was saying, here how in the West I feel like we'll take care of the issue on the surface, but we don't take care of the underlying issue, which is really the true problem, whether it be emotional, spiritual, physical. We just take care of the physical issue on the surface.
Treat the symptom. They treat the symptom, not the cause.
Exactly. Perfectly said. Yeah, that's totally it.
I
Yeah,
know, man.
like
It's totally nuts.
seriously,
That's
like
all to Bonnie the other day. No, go ahead, Andy.
Namaste.
I know. I'm trying to see who it is. Hi, whoever you are.
Hey, Daniel.
hey Daniel.
Hey, Andy.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm sorry,
seriously, the funny thing is,
Good.
here's one of the funniest things that I actually found out about this one yoga pose in tantric traditions. It involves hugging, But the thing is when I practice that with like a child, or even like I've seen people who just give children a hug, especially those with autism, with all those so-called mental disorders. Somehow their behaviors just change. Like, I mean, how does that happen? Like, did we actually cure at the core of it, of the problem already? Like,
Well, there's a really great TED Talk that talks about oxytocin and how it's released from our brain when we give someone a hug. So
yeah,
they
like
actually,
Yeah, like for example, I heard from many paradigm shift radio talks is that Skull always
called
told us to give people free hugs, but like I wonder how does that help? Because the thing is of course we can personally hug anyone, but like what's the point of hugging when they're not going to benefit from it?
You can hug a
But
tree.
I'm about to give you this link to this Paul Zak TED Talk, and basically there are chemical changes in our brain when we give or receive a hug, when we hug someone. It changes our brain chemistry. It makes us produce oxytocin. I don't know if you know what oxytocin is, but it's the same chemical that's released when we're born, when you're during childbirth, during sex, during
Oh
like
yeah, baby.
hormone or chemical in our body, in our brain, and it gets produced just from giving someone a hug. Also from giving. That's the other thing. When you give to someone, and the more that you
Yeah.
give, the more oxytocin your brain produces.
Yeah,
I
and
like
like
that.
now here's like Bonnie, here's the interesting part is when you start becoming more genuine with the person that you're hugging, somehow that person not only feels it from you, but like you generate even more oxytocin. Like for example, when I give, like for example, a this one student who has ADHD, when I was a teacher specialist, where I work with children with certain academic needs, this one child came to me. He felt like he was abused by this teacher. Just because I gave him a hug, he literally came back to me and he said, "Andy, I feel like I shouldn't even call you Andy. I should call you Lord Jesus because I trust you." Like,
I'm
I
just
mean,
that's what makes me really weird. Like, I wonder to what extent can humans be able to feel each other's emotions when you hug them, And especially like when you use it in a yoga pose. I've seen that a lot in many of the ancient traditions. They do that a lot.
well,
Uh,
Bonnie was suggesting we go out and give free hugs.
Michael didn't want to do it.
I
You
don't
know,
know. No, I mean, the thing is just, the energetic exchanges. You just want them to be, I don't know. it's difficult to say. Like, you see what I'm saying, Bonnie?
Yeah. I've heard also, to address Annie's question, 7 seconds is like the length of time to like create. Not always. I mean, any length of a hug will create the oxytocin. 7 seconds, I heard, not from the Paul Zak TED Talk, but from just some spirituality class I was taking at one point. Basically, it's like if you're like a universe lover, peace bringer, vibration raising person, and you hug another person who's that way for 7 seconds, you like create this like just connection and portal, you know, because it's like this connection between like universal love almost. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
You
that
can
does.
also hug a tree if you don't want to hug a person.
Yeah, exactly. I can just imagine how, would you ever have sex with a tree? I can just imagine that.
I wouldn't try that, bro.
I can just imagine.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Like, here's the funny thing, like
You can
when
hug a
I,
tree, though.
like,
Be
here's
happy,
what I
guys.
found. Like,
Yeah.
here's the funny thing, like, whenever I study about marriage in psychology, I found out that married couples that actually love one another and hug and kiss one another, their husbands or their spouse, they just ended up making more money, get a higher salary and everything, get promoted very easily, and all sorts of good benefits.
But
And
marriage... No, go ahead, bro.
yeah, and another thing is I even found out that I actually found this form of massage that a couple of weeks ago, after a couple of months after I got kicked out of my massage school, is that I found out that there's this form of massage called sensual massage, where it's both you and the client massage one another and hug one another as part of their massage therapy, and that they show that research that if both of you were to do it, then the chances of you recovering from a condition or anything like that increases by like 3 or 4 fold, which I never found in any massage therapy class then when they taught it over in, like, for example, in my area, like the Austin Institute of Massage and Spa or Lauderstein and Conway School.
That was a shithole, man.
I mean, like, seriously, like, do you guys have any ideas about what sensual massage, where you massage the partner like as though they will massage you back, and that sexual
Mm-mm.
pleasure is transferred all over your body.
Yeah, I mean, I think certain things, but if they're just doing it like professionally and that certain type of thing, kind of difficult because everybody's libido is different and they have to act in a certain way and you're massaging them, but you're activating all these hormones and things, so
I just
it's
want to bring
kind
up
of,
a really
yeah.
quick point. I'm so sorry to cut you off, Michael. Bonnie,
You
you
all good, bro.
awesome article actually relating to what was it, like sexuality and spirituality a little while ago. I think you posted.
Oh, the article I posted.
Yeah, that was real. That was really, really informative,
I
and that
think
was
that was
really, really
from
interesting.
Times Magazine or something. Yeah, that was really informative. I'm trying to like remember exactly what it said, but I know it said a bunch of really cool stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I breezed, I just skimmed through it, but a lot of the points and like correlations it made, just to really quick touch on what Andy was saying, was like there was just gosh, I'm gonna have to reread it now
There's a
because of
bunch of
course I'm not
I'm
going
gonna
back
find.
and forth. But yeah, no, it was just it was like having like actually having to have a method of, I guess, dealing with that energy, if you will, or moving that energy through the body, whether it be through, I guess, like physical, sexual, manifestation or through like a breathing practice or just something to actually keep the flow and the movement of the energy like continuous. It was really, and it just, I thought it was really interesting that it did not necessarily have to be sexual, but it was still dealing with that physical sexual energy that, if not dealt with or expelled in a sexual manner, still needed to be taken into account and dealt with accordingly, whether it be through, gosh, I can't even think of any of the actual examples they gave. I know they gave a bunch of breathing examples. I know there had to be some yoga examples.
I was
And
just about to
also,
say, I'm pretty sure yoga was on there.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
A lot
yoga's.
of chakra, different chakra meditations and color chakra meditations, especially ones to balance your root chakra and your sacral, are really, really helpful. I'm trying to find the article, but yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm just folding clothes, guys. I'm right over here.
I'm right. I know it's funny because you were not there, and then you it looked like you just poof appeared there.
Yeah, I'm just still listening in for the really good points, so I'll just pop back in. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah,
No, like
man.
no, like you guys make good points. Like the thing is, do you know that originally, like yoga, there's this one posture when I have a chance to go to Asia again and pay a little visit to India, I found out that a lot of those statues they portray yoga poses of actual Buddhas hugging one another, like male and female. Like seriously, when did we start taking off that hugging part or that sexual part away from what is essentially yoga or any of those so-called postures that supposed to promote the well-being of the human body?
I don't know. Probably when we got into the Victorian era.
Like, like I know that yoga, for example, we like to a certain extent. I I have a chance where we I studied this book called the Tantra of the Tajikawa. This book is actually written by a man in Japan. He pays a little visit to that country, and he found out that there's statues of actual Buddhas where people where they were having sex with one another, or and another thing is they also have postures uh, of two couples holding hands and a big giant statue of the penis. I mean, like, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with the penis in yoga, but like seriously, like for example, you stroke your balls. It's already in by itself very therapeutic because if you don't do it, you're basically just stucking your energy right there, and you won't be able to get it off. You know?
Well, I mean,
One,
there's many ways like I mean, to express that in particular. I mean, you can I mean, there's called like sexual kung fu for men, where you can do a tech that where it's just like very gently grasping them and like putting them in a circle. But I mean, there are ones for the woman too, of course. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not just the penis, it's the vagina too, of course. I mean, like it's balance, you know, the whole Big Bang.
There's also orgasmic meditation.
Yes,
There
exactly.
you go.
In fact, I
Yeah.
actually heard that from one of the schools that I heard of in San Francisco, California. They also taught that. But like the thing is like seriously, it's only in California. What about other places? They should be worldwide, where everyone should be talking about sex. You know?
Oh, there's online classes and things you can take. You need a partner.
You
I
need
guess
a
that's
partner.
part of my yeah. You don't necessarily need a partner, but to get the full effect, you do need a partner.
Yeah, exactly. In fact,
Or you need a
that's
fleshlight.
In fact, that is one of the most
Yeah.
important parts, that crucial part of yoga. In fact, when I studied tantra in tantric Buddhism, because I'm actually a member of the school, they said that the highest yoga tantra involves you having a partner with your archetype or your deity, and once you learn how to like have emotions that is associated with the deity, you begin to have sex with them. That is part of the yoga. But when did all that become A, secret, or B, they just never taught in school or taught in those stuff? There's nothing wrong with sex, you know. It's just somehow those maniacs out there just literally go raping children, and it happens to be that you ban them.
I
I
think
mean,
I just wanted to touch on a really quick point. I thought it was really interesting. We were talking about hugging a second ago, and just like not even to be taken as far as hugging, but like holding someone's hand. You can feel, you know what I mean, when you hold someone's hand, like you feel that, you know what I mean, that just simple connection made between two people. Where I feel like hugging is really intimate, and if you're gonna give someone a hug to a point, I feel like you have to be open and receptive to them to
yeah.
really get the most benefit out of that. But I mean, um, just for I guess just for an example,
They
just
just
hand holding. It's just so elementary, but I mean, you most definitely know when you feel when you hold anyone's hand, you totally feel that connection, if you will, and a little more, I guess, a little deeper than just a physical connection when you hold someone's hand, I guess.
hmm
Yeah, like
I agree.
yeah. In fact, that's one of the few things that I had to like go and learn from those who have girlfriends and boyfriends. Because the thing is I never had that chance to date with someone. You know, even though I do have distant dates, but I just don't have the chance to actually physically hug a person. But like, I know that. Well, like I know that it's beneficial and everything, and that we should be giving hugs. When did when did the school or the church or whatever organization ban that? You know, what's wrong?
I just feel like we've like I mean, aside from, I guess, if you're looking at it from, I guess, a religious perspective, I would think there's the whole shame game that's involved with a lot of, I guess, just religion in general when it comes to the body period. You know, just looking at it, like for me, I can only speak from a raised Christian perspective, but there's this whole association with the shame that is attached to the body, whether it be because humans are seen as imperfect or we're seen as non-divine, and we are,
Mhm.
if you will, I guess, at the whim of our impulses. That is an ongoing ever struggle to, I guess, overcome. But it's kind of just I feel like the whole perversion of that, just we're made to believe or made to feel that there's something wrong with the body in its natural state, when there's quite literally nothing wrong or shameful about the body at all. But through the teachings and the, I guess, power, that the church, and the power and influence the church holds, this kind of view has just been made mainstream and accepted by a lot of people. And I think we've gotten to a point as a people where I feel like we're scared of communication on a physical level, on an emotional level. Um, we're scared to be, I feel like, that vulnerable, if you will. And I feel like that's where some of it comes from, at least.
Like seriously, Sherman, like what are they trying to control? What is the government or the school is trying to control when they don't allow, like for example, priests, teachers, even helping professionals from hugging? There's nothing wrong with it.
No, I don't. I feel like there's anything wrong with it. It's just I feel like
They
as a
ban it, I mean.
society, well, yeah, but I feel yeah they do. But I feel like as a society, we've just grown so accustomed to the distance that now stands between two people, and we've grown so accustomed to the me, I namaste the
Oh, we
me,
got
the
the
self,
divine feminine up in the house.
the divine feminine, the divine feminine, the divine Thanks,
Damn
Michael.
it, she left.
And I completely lost my train of thought. But I think it's
I'm
just,
sorry.
I think it's just, no. I was just kidding. I think it's just like, I think it's just a means of control and just a means to keep us all, I guess, in our in our own little box, to make us forget that, we're not all that different at all, But if we're kept thinking, there's all this separation between us, then we'll never be able to truly make a connection with anyone else, and that we'll only be hurt if we open ourselves up that much, that we're only and always going to be hurt, that we retreat within ourselves. And then, it's like we're not I don't know how to put it. We're not
Well, it's okay,
shining as
Sherman. In
bright
fact,
as we can. I don't know.
this is one of the common problems that I see with children and with at-risk youth nowadays. Is that whenever you start talking about having a hug with them, for example, or if you just ask them, "Can I hug you?" somehow they were like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
They give you that look like this, like as though, like as though I, like as though I'm just playing a joke with them.
Oh, totally. Like I just know and I believe we've talked about it before, but I know at least where I'm from in D.C. and even here in Virginia, and I related it to the South just because just overall it's easier for example purposes. They've got the whole Southern hospitality thing, but people look at you like you've got two freaking heads if you say hey to somebody on the street. They'll be like, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you speaking to me? And it's like, wait, what? I'm not in the wrong here. I'm just saying hello. It's all that, yeah, it's that fear, It's that, we're just so used to being self-contained and not wanting to be hurt,
It's
not wanting
terrible
to
though,
be.
man.
It's not. It's beyond terrible. It's like I feel like we're in the age of technology that we're in. We're quite literally forgetting how to communicate with one another, physically, intellectually, just on a variety of levels. You know what I mean? And it frightens me. It really, really does, because
And
we're in
it,
an age of like text messages, where text messages are perfect for miscommunicating everything you may be really trying to
That is
say.
so true.
yeah, in fact, this is what really got me really fearful because the thing is nowadays I found out that youth nowadays they hang up on smartphones and text messages, iPhones, all sorts of stuff. The children with
iPhone.
disabilities, even the children with disabilities. But like when it comes to talking, when I talk to them, they're like, sweetie, are you really trying to talk to me here? Because I can't sense you. I can't sense your emotions.
Totally.
Are you telling me you have Asperger's?
Did we lose Daniel?
Well,
I'm
I don't
still
think
No,
here.
so.
he's
How are you doing, Daniel?
Yeah,
Actually,
please.
Yeah.
just chilling, just listening. I've got a few chat windows open, so I just got you guys on listening to the conversation.
Cool.
no,
Uh,
that's all good,
yeah,
man.
in fact, Daniel, in fact, I want to know from you, since you didn't have a chance to talk, and like your experience with yoga and all the things that we were talking about.
Yeah, I haven't. I only started doing some yoga this year, I guess, a few months ago, but I haven't been doing it regularly enough to get right into it just yet. So just very early beginning stages, I guess. So just taking it as it comes for now and see how we go. But when I was getting into it a bit, I found it really good.
Oh, and one more thing.
Yeah.
Who in here, who do you guys ever try doing a headstands for the yoga poses? Because here's what I noticed when I tried this headstands is that although my head does hurt a little bit, but somehow I can be able to like, it's almost like as though I can astral project and lucid dream more frequently whenever I do certain yoga poses. Like, for example, the Tibetan rites of immortality that I showed Michael how to do. It was ridiculous. Like recently, before I actually know the yoga pose, I only had like let me see, mm, once every 3 months I have at least a lucid dream, but somehow right now it's like almost once
Once every
every
two.
week. Nowadays it's like once every week I get a lucid dream of me doing something really ridiculous, and like that's resulted from my yoga practice.
Huh.
Okay.
Well, the more that you absorb light into your subtle body, into your energy body, you're able to view from a greater perspective your basically you're able to take your energy body wherever you go. You're able to take your consciousness that you have now and connect the two worlds basically. Like when I saw Jim Morrison, that was a trippy experience, man. But like the thing that happened is just like I didn't even attempt to make anything happen really. I was just in this trance and it felt like I was awake, and then I just see this figure appear, by me, and then I'm like, oh, holy shit, this is Jim Morrison. And it's just like that I've noticed like that is just really that I think that we try so hard, like when it comes to lucid dreams and things happen, if we just ease it up a little bit, I feel, and
Hmm.
just kind of more go with the flow, that these experiences become much more easier.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I somehow sense that my body can do things like that a lot easier nowadays. Like, and it becomes so frequent, you know. And
Hmm.
like every night, I always find myself somewhere. Like, I wonder, do you guys have like any? What type of experience do you guys have when you do yoga, so that way the audience can know? And please, whoever's out there, please comment about your experiences with yoga,
Yoga.
lucid dream, and all those side effects after you do them, because it's just like a drug, you know, just like any other medicine, it will have a side effect. Like,
Well, really with yoga, I've had some really interesting experiences. You know, I mean, I'm more so focused on Kundalini yoga, um, and basically, whenever you do raise that energy, or you're working with with the chakras, or whichever you're working with, it really does really liven up your energy and give you access to your dormant uh, abilities, if you will, or that you thought were dormant. But it also burns karma, if you have any karma, you know, and basically burns those threads, burns the etheric cords that could be attached to, certain people, and yeah, really just expand your heart, to a place of love.
yeah, in fact, that was one of the few things that I personally didn't even know. For example, like, what about you, Sherman? Like, do you have any other side effects when you do yoga? Like, do you notice anything different about yourself after you do it, or doing certain
Um,
asana?
I would have to say, like, I'd have to say for me, it's pretty similar to meditation. Like, any, I guess, side effects, or I really wouldn't call them side effects per se. Just for me personally, I would kind of call them just benefits, really. Because for yoga,
Right?
I've never really had, yeah, it's like, it's never really been a downside for me. Like I said, the only real side effect I have is namaste. The only real side effect I have is when I don't
Tony.
do yoga. Like after I do yoga for a certain stretch of time and then don't do yoga, my body will quite literally be craving it the next time I do it. And that always brings me back to the mindset of why don't I do this all the time? But as far as the benefits go, I'd have to say for me it's pretty similar to meditation. After I meditate, usually after I do yoga, I just have this. I don't know. It's like I finish and I open my eyes, and it's just like I've got this clarity, this inner kind of
Yeah.
calm, and it's really cool. It's just I don't know. Everything seems a little clearer. Everything seems a little more in place, if you will.
Brighter for me.
Oh,
Yeah, totally, totally.
so you're talking about synchronicity, because that sounds like the signs of awakening, you know?
Hmm.
I
And
think that it helps us, just like in meditation, and what Sherman's talking about. One of my favorite things about meditation is also one of my favorite things about yoga, which is after you open your eyes, well, not if you're moving around the whole time in yoga, you might not notice, but at the end, if you have a class where they do bring you back to seated position and, hands at heart center and stuff, and just close your eyes. And then when you open your eyes again, and same when you're coming out of meditation, it's like the world is just like this enchanted, beautiful, magical place, and I can't believe that it's like the same place it was before I closed my eyes or before I did that, session. It's just like, I don't know, it just has this like spark to it, and it fascinates me. I did one of my meditation, the most recent meditation video I did was about
Yeah,
that.
seriously, like here's the funny thing
I
about me.
picked up on that before you even said it, Bonnie.
Yeah, like Bonnie,
I was like, wow.
you guys brought up very good stuff. And here's the thing. Do you know that when I practice yoga, like even like before I know that the world is wonderful, I already after before I do the yoga, I already know that the world is wonderful. It's just some jerks and came over and blew the whole thing up. But after doing the yoga poses, I noticed like the whole world in by itself, it was so beautiful and everything is in sync and so ever. And when I spend my time to actually do mindful meditation, I found out that's because our mind is calm.
Um,
It's yeah, it's because when you calm your mind to the point where you don't hold any more views about the world manifests itself the way it is.
yeah, that's
Yeah, it is.
tremendously well said, Andy.
Yeah, and
I have to agree with that.
same thing with synchronicity. I found out that when like for example, I don't know how you did it, Sherman, but like I also felt the same thing. Like I felt like I was in that deep trance, like as though everything is feeling like as though it's all perfect. But when did I become the one that screws everything over? You know, that's what. And what's even more interesting is that although yoga was meant to not just change the mind, but it changes the body. That's the thing is what are we trying to synchronize our bodies with? That's the question. I know the divine is something very beautiful that our world has, but what are we trying to be in sync with when everything is already in sync with the divine, even our body?
I think it's just like I think it's like what I think it's like what we had mentioned earlier when it's just like, you know, we get so caught up in the world that we live in. We forget, we get caught up in our lives, we get caught up in our day-to-day comings and goings, we get caught up in everything that is not, that I guess place of stillness, that place of calm, everything that yoga and meditation is, I guess. And it's just kind of, I guess, aligning ourselves, bringing ourselves back to center, maybe. That's something I find is a really big reoccurring theme in yoga, at least for me, is, centering yourself. 11:11, well, 12:11, but,
11,
but
Yeah.
yeah, like, just, I think it's just, and it's like, it's like you had said, it's just bringing yourself back to the place where you can quite literally, at least for me, you can just be an observer. It's not pushing your thoughts or judgments or perceptions on anything, but perceiving everything as it truly is. And I feel like it's easiest to do that after one has brought themselves back into alignment with center or source or divine or whatever you want to call it, because then you just see everything for as it truly is, which is, as I guess we've all, talked about, just perfect, more vivid, brighter, lighter, just all
Yeah.
of these wonderful things.
Yeah, in fact,
Man, that's interesting.
yeah, in fact, that's one of the things that I had to learn. This is what I actually told my yoga teacher when I first do my yoga practice, is that there's this one time she asked me, what is your goal in doing yoga in the first place? She asked me that question, and I told her, I only asked you, can you bring me back to that childhood memories that I had with about the world where I was in sync with it? I asked them, well, she asked me, why in the world would you want to do that? And told her, think about it. Doesn't God told you that the world, that blessed are those who are children, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Those who don't act like children shall never enter the kingdom of heaven. I told her that, and she was like, oh, wow. You know? It's like, there's nothing, and that's the problem, is like,
The pure heart.
yeah, I know, but like, the thing is nowadays, when we see children today, we don't always see pure of heart. Sometimes we see learned
That's interesting.
creatures.
I was gonna say they said something exactly like that on Dragon Ball. Master
Like,
Roshi was
yeah,
gonna
like,
was going to present. No, I was saying like Master Roshi was gonna present Goku with the Nimbus, and Master Roshi was like, you can only ride this Nimbus cloud if you're pure of heart. So on there, she's like, give me this Nimbus cloud, and she jumped on it and she fell. But Goku hopped up on it and started jumping on it, and because of his light heart, because there's something about this in Egyptian mythology. If the heart is lighter than a feather, then you won't have to incarnate again. Meaning, like the light heartedness, the light vibration that you have, not taking everything so seriously, not getting into that density, is the only way to fly.
yeah, exactly, Tony. In
Besides
fact,
mescaline.
yeah, in fact, Tony got a point here. I got a song that I wrote that has to do with innocence of a child. In fact, even I personally wrote songs about children all the time, But the problem is sometimes when we read them, we came in disbelief, like as though, like some people say, is children that innocent? I was like, when did we start viewing our children as, for example, psychopaths or born evil human beings? There's nothing wrong with them. They're just innocent.
I think one thing we have, like one perception I find a lot is, and I just tend to see this a lot with parents. Like, I feel like a lot of parents don't realize when your kid comes to you, like when your child is born totally and completely. Like your kid has a purpose. Your kid, has dreams and wishes and fulfillments. They may not be, uh, manifest to the point where you can understand them. But you know what I mean? Like, this is a complete and whole person that is coming into this world, and, you're just there to guide them. I find a lot of parents want to mold their kids and to
Yes.
live vicariously through their kids, which honestly I feel like never works. And it may work, for a long time, but I feel like it never really sticks through. And the longer that it does, even more so, I feel like it's a little more detrimental when the kids come with, I don't know, I don't want to say like this karmic weight of their parents, but I feel like for a lot of kids, it's really selfish, Tony. I feel like a lot of kids kind of I aspire to, in a sense, to be what their parents want them to be, which I'm sure in a sense we all do, especially coming into our own, figuring out who we are and everything. But, I don't think it doesn't really work out, I feel like, for the best benefit of the kid because, you're really not supposed to do anything but just nurture and support who they already are, who they're discovering they're becoming, or remembering who they are, if you will. And that's where I feel like all like the perversions kind of come from, in a sense, at least for me, whereas it's just because the child is fighting something that obviously isn't them, that isn't that doesn't truly resonate with them, and it all of the, I guess, ill effects of that kind of make themselves apparent in any different facet of the child's life, where that may be seen as societal mental illness, or Asperger's, where the child recludes to a point inside where they want nothing to do with anything outside, just a variety of things, and I feel like some of that has to do with that.
A general loss of like disconnect. I feel like there's a disconnect that happens with the child when you're in those types of situations, Sherman, that you're talking about. It's crazy. It's so hard to then have to change your life around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, here's
molded.
yeah, in fact, here's the funny thing. Like that's what led me to this plan in which like a lot of us, a lot of times, like I've been thinking a lot about doing this for a long time before I finally decided, you know what, I caught my break. I'm going to do it. I'm going to start building my own yoga instructional video and all those, and set up a studio in which I can be able to help with children with disabilities and all those stuff.
Awesome.
Because the thing is think about it. We've been mistreating our children in terms of mental illness and everything. From what you said, we learned something that doesn't fit the child. And second of all, is that yoga is meant to be something more for our children. It's meant to be more for our human mind, but somehow it was belittled in such a way that we don't even have any idea how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a method of curing, not a method of physical activities,
Totally. I totally agree with that.
Like
I feel
seriously, like how in the world do you guys like be able to teach yoga in such a way that you know that it will benefit somebody? I know that I've been asking this too many times, but like how do you know if you can heal a person, for example?
Well, for example, you're not healing someone through guiding or teaching yoga, or that it holds true for any healing modality. Like one of the keys as like a healing practitioner is that you're simply facilitating the person healing themselves. But you're not providing the direct healing because you don't know how to heal someone else. I mean, you might have certain psychic abilities and things like that and intuition, but like when you're a healer, you're kind of channeling the source energy and you're allowing it to come through you. You're allowing that to be transferred to the other person through them healing themselves. So you're not giving someone, you're not necessarily being the healer, even though they use the word healer. It's you're just facilitating the healing process for someone. You're helping them learn the healing process or know how to heal themselves.
Yeah, you're not using your own personal energy, using universal life force energy.
Yeah, that is just excellently said, Bonnie. I think that should be like that should be posted and like every like killers everything everywhere because that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah,
I feel like it's just being brought to the surface to be dealt with by the person. That other person may be the conduit or the cause, that brings it to the surface so then the other person can acknowledge it, accept it, work on it, and then deal with it.
Yeah, exactly,
Exactly.
Sherman. In fact, in psychotherapy, when I learned this, I found out that this approach is called what we call the person-centered therapy, where you're letting the person who you're helping be the one who's accountable for his own well-being. And I found it's the same way with how naturopathic medicine and several other medical schools, they revolutionize how they build to like heal people. And I found out that if I were to get like a doctorate in naturopathic medicine, I can actually teach yoga too,
Totally, that's
at
awesome.
a
Yeah.
reduced rate.
I mean,
Like I get a
I'm
doctorate
getting.
and I paid off.
No, I was saying I'm actually getting that pretty soon. My naturopathic license.
Nice.
But basically, I feel like that's really something that like I feel that we really do need. I was showing me a video the other day with Steve Jobs and how it seemed like when you watch this video, it seemed that they were talking about like Steve Jobs, everything that Steve Jobs did to cure or heal his cancer, basically with Eastern medicine, that nothing, like none of it had any purpose whatsoever. And when you watch this thing, it just made it seem like it was a certain thing of like Western medicine is just somehow trying to prove it's better than Eastern medicine. But my whole thing was just like you have to look at it from both perspectives. I think they both serve its purpose, but what I do enjoy, I feel, about Eastern medicine is it doesn't suppress or repress things or try to cure it with a pill. It kind of looks into the soul or looks at the issue or the core issue and says, okay, how can we either work with this or delete it or understand it? Let me see.
Yeah, in fact, exactly, Michael. In fact, that's the thing about Western medicine is nowadays, when, like, for example, me, when I see a psychiatrist, funny thing is, like, just like every other medical profession, they prescribed me a pill called Intuitive or Risperdal, where I was given a drug. Next thing you know, when I go to class, I ended up feeling like a drunkard. I cannot even focus very well, you know? And I was like, when did Western medicine became nothing more than just prescribing pills? Like, I mean, I was just having social problems with certain people, but that doesn't not give you the right to give me a pill that would devastate my my only chance to get into a college. I almost got an F in my physics class just because of that. Because it's freaking boring.
Oh, wow.
Michael, I think you scared Ashley away.
I don't know what I did.
Oh, okay. So Tony brought up a good point right here. He said, "Can a guy in a deserted island have a social or mental disorder?" Well, first off, the question is what is a mental disorder? What does the social to what extent do we know if a person is mentally disordered? Is it because
I think
the
I
social
think Bonnie
norm?
can speak on that.
Me. Because I know everything about deserts and mental disorders.
Yes. Maybe not on a deserted island, but well, you got to think about it. A guy on a deserted island doesn't have the conditioning that people brought up in a particular society that have to act a certain way have. You ever seen Castaway?
Wilson.
Wilson.
I love that movie. Tom Hanks. Oh man.
Well, Daniel, do you have any idea about this? Especially like when it comes to mental disorders. I thought the DSM is just plain bullcrap, but every time whenever I go to college or even go to school, I always remind that it's just a DSM. And like mental disorders do exist, and I keep hearing that over and over from the American public. It's almost like as though it's real to everyone.
Well, so there's certain mental disorders that actually there are differences in people's brains, like people who are going through depression and things like that. They actually have different brain chemistry going on. There's an imbalance. And so I think it could be possible that in some desert island that maybe someone could still be experiencing that imbalance, but it wouldn't be considered depression because the depression, like most of the mental disorders, not just depression, are societal, are viewed through society, and that's why they occurred. There's an abnormality in a behavior that is typical to society, like in someone else. So, these people who might be diagnosed with mental disorders have a certain abnormality from the norm, but that if you were in a desert island, there's not going to be that norm, so there's not going to be the abnormality from the norm. So I think the answer is yes and no, Tony.
Here's the thing here's the thing. Like, how do you know what chemical did that person have an imbalance for, And how does yoga be able to help, could be able to help that problem? Because I've seen people who do Ashtanga yoga for a variety of reasons, and I found out that veterans, they benefit a lot from that practice. And I've heard some veterans, they overcome their PTSDs because of it. Even and there's even programs for children with ADHD where they just do Ashtanga yoga and then bam, they got better scores on their tax exam, for example.
Well, about what you were saying, meditation I know does alter your brain activity and moves it from operating in our lower medulla where our fight or flight zone is. It moves it to operating closer to our frontal lobe where all of our happy dopamine receptors are and everything like that, and all of the chemicals that make us feel good. So we have easier access to them, and we're just operating in our days through a better place in our brain instead of that fight or flight response constantly being triggered. And yoga is just so tied in with meditation. I could only imagine that there's, it's similar in that sense.
Yeah, because the thing is when that's the funny thing, when I start teaching meditation and yoga to this one child when I was a special ed teacher at a Vietnamese church, and that he literally focused a lot better. He gained a lot more self-trust. His confidence went up, but then I was like, how did that happen, And seriously, do you guys recommend any postures for different health benefits? Because the thing is so many people out there, they ask me, for example, what posture should I use to, for example, cure my migraine, for example. I keep getting questions like that all the time from fans, from people
Hang
who
on,
I met.
I'm going to get a book for you, but I have this book called The Meditation Doctor, and they do have a lot of yoga poses in it too, but it has it's headache, here's a meditation to do for a headache. Backache, here's something to do for that. It's really awesome. But as far as yoga postures exactly for certain purposes, I don't know. That's something I've been interested in. I haven't researched enough. What do you guys know about it?
I most definitely would have to look into the meditation doctor. I don't know anything specifically, but that makes, that I feel like that'd be a great reference point, so then we could actually reconnect and be like, hey, well, this is what I found pertaining to, this.
No,
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm gonna go find them. I have it very close by. But yeah, I would be interested to see one that was more centered on yoga poses or asanas instead of like meditations, you know? That would be interesting.
I think a lot of it also probably has to do, I think either unspoken or unspoken, probably a lot of it has to do with the intention we talked about earlier, you know? Like Andy, you had said, you know, your student showed, you know, vast improvement from when you taught, you know, when you first taught them about meditation to when, you know, I guess, you know, after that, you could see a substantial difference, you know, and I think that also may have to do with the intent the student may have been putting out. You have maybe, you know, you probably were putting out, obviously, because that was kind of the whole point of the meditation. I think that may also have quite a bit to do with it.
And here's the more interesting thing that I learned in psychotherapy, that you guys, since some of you guys will be teaching yoga to children or any of that, try this. Try to establish a relationship with your students in such a way that is intimate, in such a way that they feel comfortable with you. And that when you did that, and when you teach a pose to them, and when they do it diligently and you reward them, imagine the benefits coming out of it. I used the same technique with that ADHD student that you mentioned, Sherman, and it causes a massive tidal wave coming right at him to the point where his ADHD was almost like non-existent afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
It was like a miracle.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, but not that type of relationship. I'm not talking about having a babe. You're really gonna scare off the kids if you do that.
No, that's not what I was talking about, man.
I like how we got one other girl in here for 1 second, and then she was gone.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
that's why I was
Ashley,
like,
where have you
divine
been?
feminine.
You're not
She
allowed
just
to
her
say
own
that
name.
anymore. If a new girl shows up, don't say divine feminine.
Seriously, like, I was like,
She doesn't
Ashley,
even
you've
know her
been.
title.
Don't say it.
You know, that's what really interesting. You know, is like, do you guys ever try doing this,
Divine,
or
baby.
ever seen yoga teachers? They ever establish, like, for example, a personal relationship with you in such a way that promotes that really like encourages you to reach your highest potential, you know? I had several of those moments, but then the thing is how powerful do you think it can get from your personal experience?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
The question is like how powerful can personal relationships with your teacher have on the effects, like for example you learning yoga or your wellness, you know? Because the thing is we learn that all the time in psychology and even in medical school, but we never had that chance to emphasize it in our careers.
Who's laughing now?
I do a lot more yoga videos than classes most recently, so I used to go to classes a lot, and I never really developed relationships with my yoga teachers, just my meditation teachers. And I
Yeah.
was okay with that kind of, like, I kind of, like, wanted to go and do what I wanted to do, and then when the class was over, they'd always be like, you want to stay after and talk? And I'd be like, okay, bye! I don't know. It was all me, you know?
Yeah, I have to second that. I've never gone to a class, so I always watch videos. So I really don't know about too much of a connection with anyone outside of, I guess, my imaginary yoga teacher, which is myself or my
Well,
higher self. So
so here's the thing, guys. Like, now to expand it in a little bit more, since not many people know about yoga teachers, is how often, like, think of a teacher in your life where he made an impact on you. How does he, how does he do it? Like, does he just simply teach you something, or did he establish a relationship with you, and how does it go? Because this is so important in how we teach yoga, you know? If we forgot that relationship, it can literally destroy the whole entire purpose of yoga.
Oh, yoga's not going anywhere. I can tell you that. I mean, it just depends in the intention that you use it for. You know, do you use it for the purpose of becoming the greatest spiritual being that you can become on this planet, or do you use it just to, you know, make a piece of cotton?
Oh, all right, Daniel. Namaste, brother. Take it easy, man.
Thank you. Thanks,
Alright,
everyone.
easy, bro.
Take it
I'm
easy.
glad I could get in while I
Have
could.
a good night, Daniel.
Have a good
Cheers,
night.
Six. Thanks,
Bye.
Andy.
No
Have a
problem.
great one.
Ah.
Have a good night.
Peace.
Yeah, you know, guys, that's the thing about like any even like here's the funny thing. Like when I'm a member of the Tantric Buddhist school, they also have that emphasis where before I can be able to like find my teacher and learn from him, I must first be able to establish a relationship with my teacher in such a way that is very strong, and it has to be so-called very therapeutic. Because if I were to, for example, pick on the wrong teacher that might teach me the wrong thing, I can be able to screw myself over mentally, you know, with the practice.
I mean, I feel like a lot of that as well still has to come down to the self. You know what I mean? Because you still got to do what's right for you. And I feel like I mean, in a way, I feel like if there's no matchup there, like, but I feel like the first relationship should be with the self, and any type of practice, you should come to yourself first, and then only kind of seek, I guess, outside help or guidance when you feel like you're ready or you get to a certain point, or if you do start, with a teacher. I feel like I feel like a lot of it still has to come back to the self, because I don't feel like you're really getting the most out of yoga if you're just doing yoga in class. Like you got to
Yeah.
come home and do yoga by yourself and connect with yourself and
Yeah.
To me, okay? To me, all these things that I've learned ultimately come to self-knowledge. Well, Bruce Lee, man,
yep.
same thing.
Yup.
It's self-knowledge. That's the thing. But that's the thing that I feel that if you just apply these things, the Educare, you know, as Infinite War says, the Educare, the wisdom from within. If you just allow the wisdom to come from within, instead of seeking and thinking it's so external of yourself. And a real teacher can only help you discover yourself.
So
Yeah.
true.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what Mom said. He said, "Teach me." I said, "I cannot teach you. I can only help you discover yourself."
Right, and in fact, here's the funny thing, guys, to tell you a little joke to wrap things up, is that, like, from what you guys said about trying to establish a relationship and finding the right yoga pose, it doesn't really matter up to this point. And in fact, this is how, like, when I personally came to this one center called Spectrum, so that way they ask me several questions regarding like how am I feeling and what can we do to help you. I told them you can't help me, but what you can do right now is let me know what does it mean to be human, because I have forgotten what it means to be human after all these years of just chasing a shadow in this
Originating from
society.
the Latin
Yeah, I was chasing the shadow all the time.
human, the word human.
Yeah, and not only that, like what
No,
does
it's
it
the word
what
human originating from the Latin. Oh,
Yeah, like the
no, go ahead.
question is, yeah, like the question is, am I insane? Am I human? And that's all that is I want to know. There's nothing I don't want to know if I have a job. I don't want to know if I'm getting along with the social norm. I just want to know if how am I human? That's all.
Well, the thing is, because you are an alien on this planet.
Oh, so Tony did ask this question.
Oh.
Yeah, he said, "Does yoga influence the nerves and are the poses designed with this in mind?" And I was like, "Hmm."
I believe
D-
so.
Well,
I
ask
was gonna answer
well
your
ask
about
yourself
being
this,
human.
Tony. Like, which one comes first, the egg or the chicken? Because everything is like a web, you know. It's a two-sided thing.
Okay, okay. So the word heal is linked, coming from the Latin root, which means humus, meaning soil. So let's not forget what our being is rooted in.
Right,
So
right.
to say you're human means that you are soil.
Yeah, and in fact,
That's the
that's
truth.
yeah, I know. It's just simple as
I'm a
that.
star too.
What do you
So
say,
yeah,
bud?
I said, but I'm a star too.
yeah, but
Stars are just dust and soil too.
well, yeah,
All the
we're
same
just dust and
elements.
soils. But if you
Yeah,
think
well,
about it, dust and soil, think about it, the materials is iron, which
The
is also from
nutrients.
the stars, you
Yeah.
know?
yeah, what
Yeah.
was it? It was like, be humble, for you are made of the earth. Be noble, for you are made of the stars. Something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. In fact,
well,
there's
quantum physicists. No, go ahead, bro.
yeah, go for it, Michael. In fact, that's something interesting right there.
I'm saying quantum physicists state that the body is composed of over 100 million or so tons of stardust particles. The human body itself, I mean, when you put your arms out and your legs out, I mean, what do you see? You see, I mean, it's 5 points. It's a star. I mean, there's no doubt we are created from the same energy that is from the stars, and the same elements that you find on a cereal box is the same in the human body. So, I mean, you know, elements.
Mhm.
Exactly. In fact, we're just a hologram. The only question I want to ask the audience before we end this is, if you were to do a yoga pose and for the sake of doing it out of healing, what would you do, you know? What would like what what makes you think that yoga will help you on your journey? Just try to ask yourself that question. Spend time going to a yoga class and see how does the teacher, like when you establish a relationship with a teacher, how does it affect you differently from if you were to, for example, do yoga in from a video? How is it different? And how does personal relationships play a role in that? Because we all know that social alchemy has an effect on us as a microcosm. But the thing is how will we take that first step to make ourselves healthy? Just think about it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
Mm.
we'll have our chance to come back on our next shows and to give you an overlook. We're going to be talking about social alchemy, hopefully.